All right, let's jump right in. We're about to take a deep dive into one of the most powerful and, honestly, beautiful chapters in the entire Bible, 1 Corinthians 13. Now, think of this less like a lecture and more like a movie. We're going to walk through it verse by verse and really build a picture in our minds of what this thing called love truly is. Okay, so let's kick things off with a pretty wild thought. What if the thing you're best at, what if your greatest skill, was actually worthless? I know, it sounds harsh, but that's exactly where verse 1 starts. Picture this. You've got this incredible, charismatic speaker on stage. The crowd is hanging on every single word. But if love isn't the motivation behind it all that powerful speech just becomes noise, like a loud, annoying, totally empty clang from a cymbal. Nothing more. So this first part, verses 1 through 3, is all about setting the stage. It's basically showing us a world without love. And it does it in a really dramatic way to hammer home this one point. Love isn't just a nice extra. It's the one thing you absolutely can't do without if you want your life to mean anything. All right, verse 2. And this is where things get even more intense. It says you could have amazing spiritual gifts, understand all the universe's secrets, and even have faith so strong it could move mountains, but without love, I am nothing. So let's really see that. Imagine a person standing before a huge mountain. They raise their hand, and with sheer faith, the entire mountain slides across the valley. I mean, an incredible reality-bending moment, right? But then, because love is missing, the person in the mountain they just moved just poof, fade into thin air. Gone, leaving behind nothing but an empty space. It's powerful stuff. And then we get to verse 3. This one tackles the ultimate acts of generosity and sacrifice. Think about someone giving away everything they own to feed the poor, or even giving up their own life. These are huge, heroic acts. But the verse says, without love, it profits me nothing. Let's picture that. Imagine a scene of incredible charity, but it's all in grayscale. It's cold. It's mechanical. There's no warmth. It's like making a huge deposit at the bank, but your account balance stays stuck at zero. It really makes you think. It's not just about what you do, but the why behind it. Okay, so we've seen the negative, right? Without love, everything is just noise and emptiness. So what is love then? Well, that's what this next section is all about. We're about to get a very clear, very practical picture of what love looks like in action. So verse 4 kicks off the definition. Love is patient. Love is kind. What does that actually look like? Well, for patient, imagine you're waiting for a file to download and it's taking forever. Instead of sighing and getting angry, you just take a breath and wait. For the does not envy part, picture you're at an event and your friend wins a huge award. Instead of feeling that sting of jealousy, you are genuinely, completely thrilled for them. You're their biggest fan in the room. That's what it's talking about. Verse 5 keeps building on this. It says, love does not behave rudely, does not seek its own, is not provoked, thinks no evil. Okay, not rude, we all know what that looks like. It's letting someone merge in traffic when you're in a hurry. But what about thinks no evil? Some translations put it as keeps no record of wrongs. I love that. For the visual, imagine someone has this long, long scroll listing every single time someone has wronged them. And then they just tear it up, not out of anger, but out of a decision to let it all go. Then verse 6 gives us this really clear this, not that picture. It says, love does not rejoice in iniquity, but rejoices in the truth. So on one side, picture a group of people huddled together, gossiping, kind of secretly happy about someone else's misfortune. That's rejoicing in iniquity. Now let's flip that. Imagine the pure, explosive joy of a family when their lost dog comes running home. It's bright, it's loud, it's honest celebration. That's rejoicing in the truth. Love always, always roots for what's good and true. Verse 7 is like the summary of love's incredible strength. It says, love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. This is like love's superpower. And the image that just screams this for me is a lighthouse. Think about it. There's a massive storm, giant waves are smashing against the rocks, the wind is howling, but the lighthouse just stands there. It takes the beating, and it's light. That's the belief, the hope, the endurance. It never goes out. It just keeps shining. That's the kind of unstoppable strength this verse is talking about. All right, we've arrived at the final section. This is really the grand finale of the chapter. It's where we see why love is put on such a high pedestal. The whole point here is to show that love lasts forever, especially when compared to, well, pretty much everything else. Verse 8 kicks us off with a huge statement. Love never fails. But then it says other things will fail: prophecies, tongues, even knowledge. So here's the mental picture. You're on a beach, and there are these amazing detailed sandcastles. One is labeled prophecy, another knowledge. They're beautiful, but then the tide comes in and whoosh, they're gone. Just smooth sand. But right in the middle, there's this huge solid rock, and the waves can crash against it all day, but it's not going anywhere. That rock is love. It's the one thing that's permanent. So verses 9 and 10 explain why those other things are temporary. Verse 9 says, "For we know in part and we prophesy in part." Think of it like you're looking at a huge, beautiful room, but you're peeking through a tiny keyhole. You can see something, for sure, but it's just a tiny piece of the whole picture. That's our knowledge now. But then, verse 10 comes in. "But when that which is perfect has come," and that's the moment the door swings open. Suddenly, you see the entire room in all its glory. Once you see the full picture, you don't need the keyhole anymore.
Verse 11 makes this super personal. It talks about growing up. When I was a child, I spoke like a child. I thought like a child. When I became a man, I put away childish things. The visual for this is perfect. Imagine a child's crayon drawing of a house. Simple, a bit crooked. But then watch that drawing morph into a complex, detailed architectural blueprint. That's the journey. We're moving from a simple understanding to a deep, mature one.
Verse 12 gives us another amazing metaphor for this. It says, "For now we see in a mirror, dimly, but then face to face." Back then, mirrors were made of polished metal, so the reflection was never perfect. It was always a bit blurry, a bit distorted. That's us now. We're trying to see things clearly, but it's like looking into a foggy mirror. But then, the verse promises, we'll see face to face. The fog clears, the image becomes crystal clear, perfect high definition. We will finally see and be seen with total clarity. So, where does that leave us? After all the temporary stuff fades away, what's actually left standing? Verse 13 gives us the answer. And let's go back to that beach. The sandcastles are gone. The tide has gone out. And on that solid rock foundation, three things remain: faith, hope, and love. These are the big three, the things that endure. And right at the very end, the chapter delivers its final, unforgettable punchline. "And now abide faith, hope, love, these three." And then it lands it. "But the greatest of these is love." Wow. So why is it the greatest? Well, you could say love is what fuels the other two. Our faith is in a God who is love. Our hope is for a future that's defined by love. Love isn't just one of the pillars, it's the very ground they're all built on. So after walking through all of that, what now? This chapter isn't just beautiful words, it's a challenge. It's a roadmap. So the question for all of us is pretty simple. If this is what love really looks like, if it's being patient when you want to snap, or forgiving when you want to hold a grudge, what's just one thing you can do today to actually live this out? What's one step you can take?